So here we have, as you mentioned, Hitler and who's this young dude right here? Who? Yeah, he doesn't have that many wrinkles. More war. Yes, it is Mussolini here. Yes, so we have Hitler and Mussolini. And Mussolini represents what country? Italy. And obviously Hitler is Germany. Very good. All right, so we'll go through this relatively quickly. This you don't need to know, but you do need a little bit of background.
Yeah, background. No need to write it.
So after World War I, after the Treaty of Versailles is signed, we mentioned earlier that Germany has to pay reparations. They lose the war, they have to pay for everything. Are they able to do so? No. They lose two other things after World War I. Besides all that money that they have to pay. What else do they lose in the Treaty of Versailles? Well, they lose power for sure.
The country itself,
Land. So they lose plenty of their land. 13% of their land is taken from them. And what the countries do with the rest of that land is make other countries. Czechoslovakia, Poland, Austria is split into Austria and Hungary. But there are still German people living in those countries. Okay? So keep that in mind. What else do they lose? They limit their army. Very good. So the army is now limited to 100,000 people. Comes down from about 6 million to 100,000. Extreme cut. Okay? So while Hitler is on the rise, he mentions over and over again this idea of Lebensraum. The idea is that Germany itself, what is considered Germany after World War I, is too overcrowded and they need more living space. He says he will get that living space back. How is he going to do that? All right, another war. That's part of it. That's part of it. Getting rid of some Jews or others to make room for real Germans. It's not a bad connection there, Omar. But how is he going to start another war, Guillaume? He's only allowed to have a certain amount of army. Okay, so he might have Italy to help a little bit. Okay. What else might he do? He might use Russia. Okay. Possibly. Sure. What is going to end up happening is he's going to neglect the Treaty of Versailles. He's going to say, you know what? I don't care what you say. I don't care that you're only going to allow me to have a certain amount of army. I'm going to build it up anyway. I don't care that you took my land. I'm going to take it back. But good news is there's that one really great organization that is made after the Treaty of Versailles. The League of Nations. They can stop everything, right? No. They cannot stop it either. So let's see what happens getting into World War I. First step to war is rearmament. That means they're putting their arms back together, right? That's what it means? Put their arms back on? No. It means that they are building up their army again. Hitler builds his army. He starts this. He does not do this secretly. He puts into law a conscription law, more commonly known as the draft. He forces people by law to join the army. Like we said, this is against the Treaty of Versailles. But guess what? Britain and France do nothing. They let him do it. League of Nations lets him do it. They just let him go ahead. They say, you know what? It's been 20 years or so. That's okay. He can build up his army. We understand that he wants to protect himself. Okay. Now, at this point, Hitler's only been in power for 2 years. Okay? So nobody knows too much about him. The Holocaust is extreme. It's a secret at this point. Very minimal part. Just some rules and laws against Jews, giving them curfew and things like that. That's just been introduced to give you sort of an idea of what's going on. Okay? So nobody knows that this guy's evil. All they know is that he's a powerful leader, a powerful speaker, and that he is bringing the German people back together. Okay. No big deal yet. But then with that army, about 6 months later, he invades what's called the Rhineland. The Rhineland is this area of land between France and Germany that was supposed to be given to France as winners of World War I. The Rhineland not only has German people in it, but it also is full and rich of raw materials and resources. So it's a very beneficial piece of land. March 7th, 1936. He invades the Rhineland. Again, this is a big no-no in the Treaty of Versailles. Shouldn't be invading countries. Happens anyway. The Germans tell their men, hey, if somebody comes after you, fight them anyway. It's known as a big bluff because they only told part of their soldiers that to retreat. They told most of them, just keep going. We made this. We need to take it over. Guess what? Britain and France do nothing. They do nothing. They let it happen one more time. Well, you know what? I mean, Hitler technically it's Germans' land. There's a bunch of Germans in there. It's not that big of a deal. Let's just let him do what he needs to do. We get it. You know what? If we would have stood up to him, he would have retreated. You know what? This is not a big deal. That's the idea. That's the idea. So by 1936, again with the Holocaust in mind, a couple more laws have been passed. By this time, there was one night where plenty of synagogues, it's where Jews go and practice their faith, were destroyed in Germany. Again, the Holocaust is ramping up. But again, it's on a small scale, and mostly it is secretive. Then, skipping forward a couple more years, more and more army build up. And Hitler says, you know what? Austria is filled with Germans. Austrians, he says, you are German people. You should fight for being part of my country, Germany. You should become German once again, he says. Demand your government to join with me. We don't want to get hurt. We're all family here. In Hitler's eyes, they were taking too long, so he invades. And it's called the Anschluss. Anschluss. And because Austria was its own separate country, this is against the Treaty of Versailles. Hitler doesn't care. Britain and France do nothing. You see a pattern here? What is Germany doing? Okay, so they're building up their army. Well, it's against the rules. Do they care? No. Hitler says, You won't let me build an army? You won't let me take back my land? You don't want me to be with Austria? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. But Britain and France are doing nothing. They're not trying to stop him. So let's see what happens. Then Germany says, hey, there's part of Czechoslovakia that was made up of German people. Remember, they took our land and made Czechoslovakia with it. That's a new country. We got to take that back. This was known as the Sudetenland. Germany's own people in Czechoslovakia. Again, he says, Czechs, meaning people from Czechoslovakia, demand union with me. We are all German here. We're all family. Come be with us. Can anybody predict what's going to happen?
He makes plans.
Well, he makes plans to take them over, yes. That's against the Treaty of Versailles, right? What are Britain and France going to do? Nothing. I'm glad you sensed the pattern here. Well, not quite right. Britain and France say, you know what? It's getting out of hand. Let's meet. Let's talk. We're not going to go to war. We don't want anything like that. So let's meet. So they meet in Munich. Munich is a very popular city in Germany. And France and Britain and Germany meet. Hitler comes to the meeting and says, look, you guys are telling me that I'm going to take over all of Europe. He says, I don't have plans to do that. I just want to take over what used to be Germany. What used to be mine. What used to be and what is still German-speaking people. That's all I want. The British say, look, we understand what you're trying to do. But France, on the other hand, France, they do not like Germany at all. And they say, no, we have to put our foots down. We have foots. That doesn't make sense. That's not a word. We have to put our feet down. He says, we have to stop Germany in its tracks. We have to stop Hitler right now. Britain says, no. If we do that, we're going to get into a war. We said we'd never get into war again. We're not doing this again. So Britain urges this word here. Appeasement. Say it. Appeasement. Very good. So appeasement means that you give in to the demands of an aggressor. The aggressor here being Hitler. You know what? We'll give you what you want. We'll believe what you say. You just want to take back what's yours. We get that. Then, one of the most famous quotes of the 20th century. What will become one of the most biggest flops of the 20th century. Neville Chamberlain, this good-looking chap right here, comes out and says to the entire world, this right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Munich Agreement. This right here gives us peace in our time. Hitler doesn't want to take over all of Europe. All he wants is his own stuff back. We can all sympathize. What I have here is peace. We will never go to war with Germany. Guess when that was? 1938. 1938. Late, too. Okay. So Neville Chamberlain. Peace in our time. Let's see what happens. So, to this point in our history, by 1938, this big red stuff here was Germany before the war. Excuse me. This was Germany after World War I. Remember, they were cut down. But then remember, hey, we just want to take back the Rhineland. 1935, we just want some of our stuff back. Cool, cool, cool. Britain, France does nothing. Then he says, there's a lot of German-speaking people in Austria. We want to take that too. Britain, France say, okay, cool. Then he says, we want what's called the Sudetenland. We want Czechoslovakia too. Then they said, okay, look, you're getting a little out of hand. It looks like you want to take over Europe. And Neville said, no, I don't want to do that. And then Neville Chamberlain looks like a dumb moron, and he says, we have peace in our time. He just said he wants to take over what was his. Okay. Okay. So here is Czechoslovakia. Here is the Sudetenland. He says in March of 1939, he takes it over. This breaks the Munich Agreement because remember, he only said he wants part of it. He takes over the rest of it. So, because they broke that pact, Britain and France are going to do something this time, right? We have peace in our time. He's disrupting that peace. Do they do anything? No. Britain and France still do nothing. But by now, they realize we might have to stop this. 20 years ago, we said we'd never go to war ever again. But now, war looks like the only answer. A very desolate time. What's going on in this picture here? Who do we have on the right here? So we have the Nazis, right? We have Germany. And in fact, it's got the Hitler stash and everything. And what are these two morons over here doing? They're feeding, but what do they look like?
They're feeding from a steak, which actually.
Well, you're right, and that says Czechoslovakia on it.
So
Are they comfortable? Are they comfortable? No, they're real scared, right? And this guy says, I'm a doctor. What does that mean, do you think? Huh? Oh.
He's saying I know what I'm doing.
Okay, maybe he knows what he's doing, but he doesn't. What else? What do doctors do? They help, right? They heal people. What would be the healing here? Alright, yeah, we'll give it to you. You're a rabid dog right now. You're crazy because we took your land. We get that. We're going to help you out. You know, let's get this. So that's March of 1939. So now that Hitler has basically said F you to everybody in the world about the Treaty of Versailles, in his eyes, hey, why stop here? They don't do anything, right? I might as well keep going. Hitler begins to take over Poland now. Poland was once his, technically. People begin to stand up here. They say, look, we're going to go to war with you now. We're not going to let you do this. Hitler says, bring it on, dude. Bring it on. Let's go. I'm ready. Neville Chamberlain, that same guy that held up the peace in our times, a year later is now saying, okay, Poland, if he attacks you, we got your back. We got your back. If war happens, we got We got you, Poland. In August of 1939, Hitler says, oh crap, if I go to war with Poland, then I'm going to have to go to war with Britain and France. So Poland I got, but guess who's east of Poland? What's that real big country? East. The big one. Russia. The Soviet Union. Oh boy. There's no way, he says, that I'll be able to fight the Soviet Union and France and Britain at the same time. Oh, I got an idea, he says. Let me sign a treaty with the Soviet Union saying, look, we are different. We are not friends, but let's not go to war with each other. Let's sign a pact, an agreement. So Hitler signs a pact with Joseph Stalin saying, we won't go to war. If we end up going into war with Britain and France, you can't help them, but I won't invade you either. And Stalin says, good, man. I don't want to go to war with you anyway. Works out. But by signing this pact, he hopes that Britain and France will just lay down their arms. But it doesn't happen this time. September 1st, Hitler invades Poland with blitzkrieg tactics. September 3rd, Britain says, let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. And thus starts the war. And thus starts the war. So that is